Good afternoon, parents. Since morning we had some problem with the WebEx to the signal issues. Let me continue the topic. That is how education for commerce. So we have to start from the topic education for commerce. Prior to that, let me explain about how Thomas Babington Macaulay, the English Education Act of 1835, the English Education Act of 1835 is a landmark act because the decision was to make English the medium of instruction for higher education and stop the promotion of Oriental institutions like Calcutta Madrasa and Banaras Sanskrit College. So, established colleges like Banaras Sanskrit College and madrasas which were established prior, now the English Education Act declared that these were the temples of darkness and were failing themselves to into decay. So English textbooks now began to produce in the school. Now let us understand what is called education for commerce. The British East India Company had a major intention of spreading English education in India. The sole motive of getting few support staff, maybe the clerical staff, so that hiring Englishmen from Britain or other parts of United Kingdom, that was a very costly affair. That's why they wanted Indians to work in the lower grade jobs so that their trade and commerce get a boost. So in 1854, the Court of Directors of East India Company in London sent an educational dispatch to the Governor of India issued by Charles Wood. The president of the board of control of the company has come to known as Wood's dispatch, outlining the education policy that was followed in India. It emphasizes once again the practical benefits of system of European learning and opposed Oriental knowledge. So, that's where the major concentration of Wood's dispatch. The major concentration of Wood's dispatch is nothing but because Thomas Babington Macaulay and others they criticized English education as it is not practical education because he explained that study of sacred texts and the poetry is not having any use. Instead of that, teach science and technology or the advancement of science and technology in the European education system. So here what is that the education policy which was followed in India should be discontinued and emphasis should be given to the practical benefits and in which the system of European learning should be promoted and very important the Oriental system of education or the Indian system of education or the vernacular system of education should be stopped. So that is what the emphasis of Wood's dispatch. One of the practical uses of dispatch pointed to was economic. European learning said it would enable Indians to recognize the advantage that flow from the expansion of trade and commerce and make them see the importance of developing resources of the country. Introducing them to European way of life would change their taste and desire and create a demand for the British goods, where Indians would begin to appreciate and buy the things that produced in Europe. So if you read this entire paragraph, it is very easily explained the main motive or aim of spreading English system of education in India. Because you know cadets very well, England underwent heavy technological revolution due to industrialization. So industrialization led to the increase in the production of goods in England, especially cotton textile goods and textiles. So British wanted a market so that they can dump their product in India. So if they want to dump the British goods, especially clothes and liquor, if they want to dump the British goods in India, it is very essential that Indians should develop the taste or liking to those goods. So how to create the taste or the liking to the British goods? That can be created by spreading English education. Because British officers strongly felt that if English education is spread in India, the Indians they, their access or they get opportunity to read English literatures or novels so that English lifestyle appreciated by them so that it will be easy for them to sell their goods in India. Hope you get the point. So, the very purpose of its dispatch or the promotion of English language in India was only to promote and increase the sale of British products in India. Continuing this, its dispatch also argued that European learning would improve the moral character of Indians. It would make them truthful and honest, and thus supply the company with civil servants who could be trusted and depended on. The literature of the East was not only full of grave error, it could not instill in the people a sense of duty and commitment to the work, nor it could develop the skill required for administration. Now, if you read this paragraph, then you see how systematically British or the Roots Dispatch condemned Oriental culture or Oriental learning. The thing which they highlighted that they said that there's a need to improve the moral character of Indians. Means Indians should be more truthful, should be more honest. And it's very important that so that the Indians will join into the civil servants or the work assigned to them by the English East India Company. The literature of East was not only full grave errors, and it would not instill the people the sense of commitment to the work, nor would develop the skills required for the administration. This is what audacity or the nonsensical behavior of the British East India Company highlighted. Even though India produced the best of the best administrators in the past, but the British had the guts to say that spreading of English education only helped the Indians to understand the skills of administration. First, you have to understand one particular point here. The British wanted to highlight the purpose of introduction of Wood's dispatch. This is what we call as art of propaganda. Nazi Germany or Hitler used this technique of glorifying the mistakes, that is called as art of propaganda. Some of the advertisement today, if you observe the TVs and all, even though they sell the product which is very harmful to the human being, but they sell in such a way that the negative effects of that particular product is not highlighted. Following in 1854, several measures were introduced by the British. I told you to write down what are the measures introduced according to Wood's dispatch. One, education department of the government were set up to extend control over all matters regarding education. Second, the steps were taken to establish system of university education. So today what we see the university educations, undergraduate and postgraduate colleges, result of Wood's dispatch. But since the revolt of 1857 in Meerut and Delhi, now the British concentrated more spreading of their university and education in other parts of their province, that is Calcutta, Madras and Mumbai. So British made an attempt also to bring changes in the system of education, that is school education. So according to the system of school education introduced by Macaulay, later by Wood's dispatch, certain changes were introduced in the system of education. Okay. Hope things are clear till now. Now let us understand what happened to the schools. We read just now that according to the Wood's dispatch, the British planned to change the Indian system of schooling. So what are the steps taken by them to change the Indian system of schooling? Indian system of schooling. So in 1830, a person named William Adams. William Adam belongs to Scotland. William Adam, a person belongs to Scottish missionary. He traveled extensively in the districts of Bengal and Bihar. He had been asked by the company to report the progress of education in vernacular schools. The report Adam produces very interesting. So William Adam given the task of traveling extensively in Bengal and Bihar and find out the system of education in India, which is popularly known as Pathshalas. Adam found that there were over 1 lakh Pathshalas in Bengal and Bihar. These were small institutions with more than 20 students each. But the total number of children being taught in these Pathshalas were considerably over 20 lakh. So, Karesh, hope you understand how much importance the education has. Those days it was there. Remember, we say today we have formal education, but those days it was an informal education, but still we must give a lot of importance to learning, and that education was education for life. And what education British introduced, that is education for commons. So Over 20 lakh children, or they were under various Gurukulas. These institutions were set up by wealthy people or local community. At times they were started by the gurus or the preachers. So according to William Adam, the report submitted by William Adam created an interesting fact, or it opened an interesting fact, that the system of education in India was very flexible. The system of education in India was very flexible. Few things you associate with the school today were present in the pathshalas at that time. There were no fixed fee, no printed books, no separate school building, no bench or chair, blackboards, no system of separate classes, no roll call register, no annual examination, and no regular timetable. Today, maybe I told you 2 years back, we never imagined that this kind of day will come, where children are listening to the class sitting in their respective homes. The pandemic COVID-19 changed the system of education life. During the Gurukul system, what today we come across in the formal education, where we have a prescribed syllabus, end of term there is an examination, end of the academic year there is a final examination, a result, pass, failure, fixed fee, timetable, textbooks. So today we have a very formal education where student told in advance these are the things you have to learn. But during Gurukul system in India, during the Gurukul system in India, this was not there. And here very interesting that there were no proper buildings like today what we have as an we call as an institution or a school. So sometimes the school held under banyan trees or in other places, the corner of the village, shop or a temple or a public place. Fee is depending on income of parent. The rich have to pay more than the poor. So fees was not fixed. It is purely according to the financial condition of the parent. And most of the time, teaching was done in a oral method. The guru decided what to teach in accordance with the need of student. So here what we have to understand that today we have specialization of subjects. Different teachers teach different subjects based on their specialization to you. Those days, specialization was not there. So, since there is no specialization, so teacher understood the need of the student and he taught accordingly, and there is no separate classes. There are no separate classes. So children belongs to the different age group. They taught in a particular room only, but they were taught according to their different levels. So Adam discovered that the flexible system was suited to the local needs. For instance, the classes were not held during harvest. When rural children often worked in the fields, the pathshala started once again when the crop been cut and stored. This meant that children, even the farmer's family, could study. So William Adams' report of the system of education was very clear that he felt that the system of Gurukul or Pathshalas system was introduced in India to help and assist the poor or the farmer class or the peasants. So that when there is the crop season, generally schools or educate pathshalas are not working, and when the harvest is over, the farmer children used to attend the class. So this is the condition of pathshalas when William Adam had a survey in India. So I repeat what are the topics we covered still now. To cover the topic of Orientalist, the study of East, the study of the literature of the East is called as Oriental. Few English officers who supported the study of Oriental culture, they felt that study of Persian and Sanskrit is very important to understand the literature of East, especially India. But the officers who later posted in India from the East India Company, like James Mill, Thomas Babington Macaulay, they were all strong critics of Oriental culture. James Mill explained that in India, nothing to study. That is the critical grave errors of the East. He said that East is full of errors. It's a dark continent, uncivilized, barbaric culture. So he said that the rule of the British East India Company helped the Indians to get civilized. That is what the James Mill's classification of history, which we studied in chapter 1 also. Thomas Babington Macaulay was also a critic of vernacular literature or Oriental culture. He said that Indian education system or Oriental education system was not practical. It is only about study of sacred books and poetry. Instead of that, what is required is practical education. Teach science and technology or the technological advancement which is already under progress at that time in Europe. So he promoted English education because he felt that if you collect the entire literature of the East, that may not be equal to one good shelf of European library. That is the level of criticism Thomas Babington Macaulay had on the vernacular of Oriental literature. So, colleagues, it's actually an eye-opener for us that we study history from a British point of view just for the purpose of course, as a formal education. But please don't carry away or don't completely trust what Thomas Babington Macaulay or James Mill explained to you. Because Indian history got its own great culture and great administrators and the golden age of Guptas and all. There's enough reference in the history about the glory of Indian history. But British intentionally neglected the Indian history so that they want to glorify the Western culture. The very purpose of glorifying Western culture was to promote the goods which were produced in Britain. So that is what education for commerce. We continue tomorrow. Take care. Wish you a wonderful day. Thank you.